Flat belly up.
This is the game. It's cat and mouse.
Smoked a turkey. Yes. He is down. He is freaking down.
Said he shot an absolute giant.
Follow-up session, baby.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Follow-Up Session podcast. I will be your host for this podcast. This is Nick Powell, Media Production Manager with Follow-Up Session. And this is the first podcast without Sam, actually. But we have a special guest, Andy Meeks, our very own now Pro Staffer, I've been informed. He's decided to come join us and talk a little bit about goose hunting. Andy, how's it going, man?
Great. I'm doing awesome today. Yes, I got the good news the other day about the Pro Staff position, and very excited for it and very honored to do this. So.
Yeah, congratulations. That's exciting stuff, man.
Thank you.
We've gotten a lot of good content from Andy, so we appreciate it. And thanks for hopping on here with me. I know it's been a long time coming. It's been in the works, and so I'm glad we're finally making it happen.
Yeah, me too. It's getting to be that season, too, where we could start doing this. So.
Heck yeah. So I just wanted to kind of start with where me and you met. We met at the staff hunt last year down in San Angelo, and what a freaking great time that was, huh?
Oh, amazing time. I got invited down by Drew, another admin, and he asked me if I wanted to come down to Texas and shoot some deer, and I said, well, I couldn't pass that up. And then
Go ahead.
No, it was an opportunity I couldn't really pass up. So, I mean, it was kind of like one of my dream hunts to go down to Texas and shoot some deer, and we got to do that. So
awesome. Well, I know I had a blast, and I think I can speak on everybody else's behalf that they had a blast as well.
Oh, 100%, yes.
But yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see everybody because, you know, being an admin or a field staffer as well, you know, seeing all the guys post and all the guys' content that is sent in. It's cool to actually meet you guys in person and actually meet everybody. Not everybody, but meet a few of the staffers in person. So.
Oh, I could agree with you more. Even, you know, especially meeting you and Sam from here down there, and then Steven came over from Georgia. Tim came from Colorado, and me and Drew came from Minnesota, so it was quite you know, around the country thing. It was kind of neat, very neat to get us all in there and, you know, talk and hunt together. And
yeah, it was just a good solid hunting camp there. But I don't think you were a field staffer at that point. You just came along for the ride, huh?
Yes, I was just a guest at that point. It was awesome. It was awesome to be a guest, and Sam talked to me before we left and said, "Hey, I want you to kind of join us," and I didn't pass that opportunity down. So,
well, we're glad to have you on for sure. And now, what is it? That was in December of last year, and now here it is, August, and you're already a pro staffer.
Yes, it's been a fast 6-7 months, and it's awesome. It's like I said, I'm very honored to be a part of this. So
excellent. So let's start and dive into this podcast here a little bit, and let's just start with your background. How did you get started in hunting, and not specifically goose hunting, but just hunting in general?
Well, I guess it actually kind of started out with goose hunting. I had a father figure when I was younger, probably 8, 9, 10, and we'd always used to go out to Lacaparo, Minnesota. That's on the western part of the state. And he was part of a hunting camp, and every MEA weekend, it's a weekend, kind of a conference weekend up here for the schools, and we had like 4 days off, and I'd always go out there and then hang out with the guys and his buddies, and that's where I kind of learned how to hunt, and goose hunting was actually the first thing I got to introduce to. So it's a love of mine. It's my passion, I guess you could say. I love shooting deer, don't get me wrong, but goose hunting is where my heart's at. So
awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So I started about 8 going out there, and by the time I was 10, I already had my first goose on the ground. So that's when it all fell into place.
Nice. So you could say that you're pretty much an expert on the subject, huh?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I've spent many years chasing these birds, and and enjoying every minute of it too. So
Awesome. That's excellent. You do any other waterfowl hunting at all?
oh yeah, I love to duck hunt. I got introduced to snow goose hunting about 7 years ago, and that has been my spring passion, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. Okay.
I love chasing those white birds up and down, the Midwest through Nebraska, South Dakota, and up in North Dakota. So
Gotcha. Oh, awesome. And I've been goose hunting one time, and so I have a fraction of experience in the subject. So I'm coming at it from a newbie perspective, I guess you could say, a novice.
right.
So I'm gonna have quite a bit of questions because I only know the way that we did it. We packed up, went out, and there was a bunch of guys. We all met early in the morning at a gas station, and we followed the guide who took us to this big open cornfield. I couldn't even tell you how big it was, but it was massive because it's in I guess you could say the northern part of the state, close to the Panhandle.
What?
Oh yeah, it was in the Panhandle. We went to Amarillo, and it is as flat as it gets out there. So, and that's all we did was we just went. We set up. I think the number, including because we had some full body decoys, we had some cardboard decoys, and then we also had some flag decoys. And so, after all those were set up, I think it ended up being about 1,500 decoys. Which I don't know if that's a lot or not. It seemed like a lot to me, but that's just because I've never done it before. But and then we just sat inside those decoys and inside the most concentrated part of the decoy flock, I guess you could call it. And then they would call them in, and man, the rush of those geese flying over is incredible. But yeah, that was a really cool experience. So I guess just kind of explain how you guys go about it up there. If y'all do anything similar, so I guess just start at step one and kind of lead us through how a goose hunt is up north.
Well, out here, but kind of the upper Midwest, I would kind of include North Dakota in this one too, because I do a lot of goose hunting out there.
Okay.
But first step is scouting. That's the number one, I guess, you have to do. You got to find those birds. You got to kind of pattern them as best as possible. Here in the early season, they're really tougher to pattern because they're in smaller groups. We call them family groups. But when you're getting into the heart of the waterfowl season, yeah, scouting is number one. You got to make sure that look at them for a couple days. I mean, make sure they're going to the field, what time they're going to the field. And then when you get to that field, you got to find out where they're sitting on that field and what way they're feeding.
Okay.
And waterfowl wind is a big thing, a big player when you're hunting ducks and geese, and so you kind of have to play that too. There's many details that goes into setting up a spread, and like you said, 1,500 decoys a spread. That's a big spread, but I mean, in the heart of the season, when they're all flocked up like that, you want those many decoys out there. So it kind of gives them a safe. It looks like a safe place to land and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. And that was one of the things that our guide told us was, he said, it was later in the season when we went, and so he was like, well, hopefully we'll get these geese to fall for our tricks because they've seen them all already. And so I guess having a bigger spread made it more appealing to come and land, or made them feel safer to come and land. So
right, because by the time they get to you, I mean, they've been shot up in Canada, starting here pretty quick. I mean, I'm sure they're ramping up into Canada. I mean, they get shot from North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska, Kansas, and through Oklahoma. So yeah, like the guy said, I mean, they've seen every trick in the book, and by the time they get to you, so when you get down that far south, you've got to have big number of decoys. Even when you even here later season, when they're all flocked up, you got to have a nice decent spread to so they have it seems like it's a nice safe place to land. And
yeah.
And hiding blinds is a different thing because they've seen all kinds of blinds, and that's another thing. concealment is a huge thing.
Gotcha.
I can't emphasize that enough. If you hide yourself well, you're going to get geese and ducks and stuff like that. If you kind of half it, and they're going to pick you out every time.
Gotcha.
They're for I know people call them sky carp or they're dumb birds. They're actually a pretty intelligent bird. And
Yeah.
They're not as worrisome as a snow goose. I mean, you get some adult snow geese that have been around for 20 years, and they really have seen everything. So.
Right. Yeah, and that was one thing that kind of surprised me when we went was because all we did was they had a little elevated like thing for us to lay on, and then they had these blankets that looked like the cut corn that we would lay over us, and they were telling us that because it was cold, so we had gloves on and toboggans and stuff like that, and they were like, you even got to cover up your face because those geese, their eyesight's so good, they'll be able to point that out. They'll be able to pinpoint your skin out of all these decoys and all the camouflage that you're wearing. And so that was one thing that I was unaware of. I didn't think that they were very keen on those things, but apparently they are. And so that's a big hot tip.
Yeah, right. No, a very hot tip. Yes. Especially late season geese. I mean, they're usually in flocks of 50 to up to a couple hundred, and that's a lot of eyes looking down. You know, and one doesn't like something, and the whole flock goes. So I mean, you get the stragglers that come down, but
sure,
yeah, it's amazing what they can see from that height, and it's quite incredible. So
yeah. And I know that we hunted in the morning when we went. Is that around the time that y'all do it as well, or do y'all go in the afternoon? Yeah,
I guess it depends on what your field that you scouted looks like. I mean, are they feeding in the morning? Are they feeding in the evening? This time of year, they're kind of maybe just feeding once a day because it's still a little bit warm. But
gotcha. Okay.
Cooler temperatures the cooler the temperatures go down, they start to feed more, and they're starting to get they're bunching up more. Right now, they're sitting in their family groups, and they're kind of just, for an instance, I'm leaving for North Dakota. My old man lives up in North Dakota, so I like to go up there and hunt the early geese. And what he's saying is that, it's been hot last week, and they're just basically sitting on a pond and walking up through the reeds and just walking into the field and eating. They're not necessarily flying. Yeah, so it's really tough to pattern those birds because they'll just sit on the water and walk right up to the field. If you try to set up on them, you're gonna spook them. So
right.
For the early season, you got to do your homework a little bit, and early season's kind of I don't want to say a guessing game, but you kind of have to guess early season where they're going to go, unless they're patterning really nice, and then it's kind of a pretty thing. So
yeah, and you kind of use that, you kind of use your scouting in any kind of hunting you use, or any kind of hunting you go out and do. So that's a great point.
Yep, that I'd have to say that's number one on it. Basically, like you said, on most any hunting, you got to do your scouting, you got to do your homework, you got to try to figure out where they're coming from, where they're going, and what time. And
that's perfect. I know there's multiple goose subspecies that you can hunt. Do you have a favorite or two? I know you enjoy snow goose hunting.
I love shooting. Yeah, I love. So we get more of the lesser snow geese, the snows, the blues, and then you got another subspecies of that called the Ross geese. It's a little bit smaller than a lesser snow goose. We don't get the greater snow geese on like the East Coast does. But for the Canadians, we have the giant Canadians up here, the big boys.
Gotcha.
And we do run into a little bit of some lessers, some cacklers. Obviously, one of my bucket list goose, I have to say, is a white fronted or a speckle belly.
Okay.
I have not got one of those, and it's still on my list to do. So.
Gotcha. We had a couple of those down here when we went.
Yeah,
a couple speckle bellies, so that was pretty neat.
Yeah, you get. I believe you probably get quite a few speckle bellies down by you in late season like that. They kind of roll before the snow geese or with the front end of the snow geese fall migration down, and but yeah, it's that's one of my bucket lists. And also a brant. You can find the brants, I think, on both coasts.
Okay.
Upper Pacific, on the west coast, and then kind of on the east coast too. You get a lot of brant geese, and they're kind of a neat looking goose too that I have not got to harvest yet. So
Gotcha. Okay. So you get there in the morning, or you do your scouting, obviously, and then you get there to where you're going to set up, and then I guess it all depends on what time the geese are flying through. Is dependent on what time you set up. Is that right?
Right. So yeah. So like we like to try to find a morning spot. I feel like that they feed more in the morning, I guess. So you'll find your field in the evening. Hopefully they're feeding that field, or you saw them in the previous day in the morning there. And so we get there, 4:30 in the morning. Early season like this, we're probably setting up maybe 3-4 dozen, not too many.
Okay.
But when you're, middle of the season, you're got to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock just to get out, maybe 500 decoys, So, I mean, the decoy spread kind of varies for, different times of the year. Like a lot of people run silhouettes now,
Gotcha.
in the early season, because they're kind of, you get the younger birds, they're not that intelligent. Obviously, you have mom and dad there to kind of point that way, but it just seems like they're a little bit more dumb in the early season. Well, they're not educated as much. So.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
But when you're mid-season or late season, you're going to want your full bodies, and then you mix in little silhouettes to kind of fill in gaps and areas, and then kind of towards later season they have flocked heads. It's a kind of looks like real feathers on them, and it pops.
Okay.
Especially right away in the morning when that sun hits that black head, and it's quite the scene to see. So.
Gotcha.
Those flock heads make it look more realistic instead of looking at faded plastic or
right.
But,
Right. Yeah.
All these decoy makers nowadays they're all awesome decoys. I don't have a specific one that I like to do because they're all really nice, and so
that makes sense. Yeah, I think the ones that they were using down there, and I mean these full body decoys look real, like 100% real.
Yep.
All the way down to the detail of like a velvet type head to make them look like they have feathers on their head. Like I was thoroughly impressed with how real the decoys looked.
And that's what you need for those big, those late season big flocks.
Yep.
I'm sure you got a lot of lessers down there, cacklers.
Yes. I think that was the majority of what we had was lesser Canadas.
Yeah, oh heck yeah. They with those lessers they flock up a little bit more, so you're looking at maybe 100 in a flock,
something like that. So yeah, and there was some that were even bigger than that. I'd say up to 200 or 300.
Oh, it would not surprise me one bit. Yeah, and so they'll pick you out if you have mediocre decoy spread, or you're not paying attention to your details. They're, like I said, for a dumb bird, they're pretty smart. So
right. Right. Yeah, we had a few snows fly over. I think a couple of guys shot some speckle bellies, but most of them were the lesser Canadas.
Yeah,
but they're still big birds.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys I don't know what the giant Canadian geese or the big honkers they call them. I don't know if they go too far south. They're pretty hardy birds, so they can winter up here in Minnesota in the wintertime. If there's open water, I know down in Rochester, Minnesota, there's a lake that's kind of always open, and it's quite to see the scene down like late December. You're seeing honkers still, and it's snowing out. It's 10 below, and
wow.
So yeah, those giant honkers are pretty hardy birds. So.
Gotcha. When does goose season start?
For us, I believe it starts Labor Day weekend here in Minnesota.
Okay.
I know North Dakota, where my old man lives, they start a early goose season, which is August 15th, middle of August. I guess it probably varies from year to year, but this year I believe it started on the 15th, and that runs to about the middle of September up there, and for us it runs to the 28th, I believe, this year, 26th of September. Our early goose goes from about 21 days, give or take, and then it's a week off. Then it starts duck season, which you can shoot both ducks and geese in. So, but up in North Dakota, yeah, it's very similar timing, same thing. I think they have a little bit longer or earlier start to a goose season, and then it switches over to regular duck season and goose season. So
gotcha. Okay. So what kind of bag limits do they allow up there?
For Minnesota, I believe it's some parts. So there's intense harvest, some areas of intense harvest where they allow you to shoot 5 geese a day during the early season, and then it falls back to 3 during the regular season. Now, I know up in North Dakota, which I like to do is they have a very liberal season, or liberal limits and daily possession limits and daily possessions. It's 15 geese a day, and you can have 45. Yeah, exactly. You can have 15 geese per man per day, and then your total possession limit is 45. So, which I've only done one time to shoot our limit of North Dakota honkers. It was my old man, me, and a hunting buddy, and we shot 45 geese in about 4 hours. So
dang.
Yeah, so it was
birds.
That's a lot of birds. And what everybody says, the hunting part's the easy, then the work becomes work when you're cleaning 45 geese.
Yes, 100%. Because I think when we killed some, it was me and 2 other guys that came with me, and so I think our daily bag limit was 5, and so we had 15 to clean, and it took us a pretty good while to get those suckers clean.
Yeah, it's no easy task with those feathers and stuff like that. Some people like to pluck them, and just kind of have a roasted goose. You can roast a goose, and I'll do kind of half and half. I'll cut the breasts out. I like to make goose jerky with them, and sausages like that. So I'll just breast them out. Some of them I'll take the legs; they're not beat up, or just have a couple of geese plucked and just throw them in the oven or do it on the grill. I've done both ways.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you have a preference of what's your favorite?
Boy, I've had a couple of geese in the oven. You put some orange marmalade over them and spice them up a little bit. And that's pretty darn good. I know a lot of people don't like the taste of goose. It's kind of an acquired taste, I guess.
Sure.
I've been eating them for a long time, so it's just news to me and old news to me. So, but I know the jerky that we make jerky, and I think it's phenomenal. It's awesome that we can figure out how to eat these birds fast, so we can go get more.
There you go. So how do you go about making the jerky? I'm curious.
Well, I got a slicer, like a meat slicer, and you like to. So I did a couple bigger ones, and they get a little dried out. So I like to cut them about a 1/4 inch, 3/16, and then season them up. I have a dehydrator, and I also have a smoker.
Okay.
So it's half a dozen, 6 in the other.
Gotcha.
I like the smoky flavor. I like the smoky taste, so I do like it a little bit more in the smoker. But I've had some darn good goose jerky in the dehydrated too. So
yeah, that sounds good.
To me, it's a win-win on both. So,
right, you're not going to go wrong, huh?
No, you can't.
So how do you go about obtaining tags? Is it just like a waterfowl tag, and then you can get your daily bag limit? I know that's how it is down here. We buy our general license, and then we can get a waterfowl stamp on it, or we have to buy an additional waterfowl stamp. So is it similar up there?
Yep. Very similar. I know the state of Minnesota, we're required to, it's a small game license, and then you have to buy your state waterfowl stamp. And then also you have to have your federal waterfowl stamp.
Oh, okay.
We have to carry two different stamps with us to hunt ducks and geese. I know, and then that's for the regular season. For the early season, I know in North Dakota you only need your federal duck stamp, and obviously you only need one federal duck stamp to go into different states. So once you have your federal, you're good to hunt. You just have to find out what else that state provides. Is it a state duck stamp, or is it just you only need the federal? So.
Gotcha. Okay, because I think that's how Texas is all you need is the federal.
Yep. I believe North Dakota is like that. I don't know South Dakota or Wisconsin. I guess I haven't hunted too much waterfowl in Wisconsin, or not at all, I guess. And for this early season, I know North Dakota's license is $50, so it's $50 from August 15th to September 15th, and that then once you buy your regular season, you get like 2 14-day. This is from a out-of-stater. I guess I don't know. I think the same thing applies for local. I guess I don't know that one, but
gotcha.
You get 2 7-day periods up in North Dakota, and you choose your first weekend, and then you choose both weekends, and you can't move it ahead. You can always your second weekend, so you plan on your first weekend as opener. And if you want to go up there, like say end of October when you got the big mallards coming down from Canada, and you got the snows are starting to trickle in, and specks are starting to trickle in. That's when I kind of like to go late October, early November. It's a good time to be out there. And for the state, for Minnesota here, I guess I don't know what an out-of-state license costs for that. Should look that one up, but
no worries.
For us, it's just we have to have 2 stamps and a small game license, basically, for here in Minnesota.
Okay.
But, yeah.
It's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad. I think the federal this year is still $27.50,
mm-hmm.
and then our state duck stamp is like $7.50. I want to say, or yeah.
Yeah, and what's the limit on ducks? Is it different than geese?
Yeah, so geese in the state of Minnesota here we can get during the regular season it's 3 geese a day, and then it's 6 ducks, and there's certain speculation, or we can only shoot 4 mallards or 3 mallards, and only 2 can be hens, and there's limits on the species of ducks too. So like we can only shoot 3 wood ducks a day, and 2 have to be a drake, or only one has to be a hen, or only one can be a hen. And so like canvasbacks, I think we only take 2 or 1 pintails. I think it's only 1 to 2. So they really limit on us on how many species of ducks we can kill per day.
Sure.
And I think it does help. It's just the conservation part of it.
Right.
I love seeing ducks fly around in the summer. I love looking at potholes and scouting different things and seeing how many there are. So
right, yeah.
Minnesota's technically not in the the duck making part of the country. You got North Dakota, South Dakota, back in the up in the Saskatchewan, and I mean that's where all the ducks are basically made every year. So
okay,
but we get our fair share, especially on the western part of the state. I'm kind of more southwest central there, so we do get a lot of breeding. Mostly it's wood duck and teal. We do get a handful of mallards up here, but we like to wait for the late season when those big Canadian mallards come down. Gotcha. Then it's a riot.
Yeah. So I do have a question about like when you are duck hunting, and because you do have the daily limits on different species. How do you tell like oh we've already gotten 3 teal or whatever the limit is? How do you tell if it is a teal that's coming in? Obviously, the mallards are pretty easy to distinguish because of the green head, but I guess you just do they get close enough to where you can tell, or?
Yeah, they get close enough you can tell. Also, just the way they fly and what kind of groups they're in and how high they're flying and how they react to decoys. I mean, I know divers react to decoys a little bit different than teal do. Teal are fast little ducks, and they'll fly a decent sized flock. I mean, probably between 7 to 15, and they're screaming across the lake. We hunt a lot of potholes and up here in Minnesota. And so just in the way they fly, I know wood duck flies a little bit different, just the way their body shape is and the wing shape is, and their calls. Obviously, the sounds that they make. If you listen carefully, a wood duck drake or wood duck hen sounds different than a mallard hen. It's more of a whistle and same with the teal, and so there's a lot of things you can tell and pick out. It's
okay.
I've been doing this for a while. I know a couple of buddies that they have, when you go hunting out with them and they shoot, I go, oh, look over and say, hey, nice teal, or, nice woody, or something like that. And he looks at me, how do you know that? I said, well, I can pick them out pretty decent. I know it's tough for, the guys that get out once, twice a year. I mean, if you do your homework and, pay attention a little bit detail, listen and watch, and it'll come to you.
Yeah, interesting. Because that's one thing I've always wondered was, how do you tell the difference? Just birds flying at you is all I see. But that's from, like I said earlier, a novice, coming into the waterfowl thing. I've only hunted goose or geese one time, and so that's a good piece of info right there.
Yep, I would have for me it's the body shape, how fast how they're flying. Their wing shape.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yep. So,
do you cook ducks similar to the way you cook geese?
Yes and no. I like to if it's a mallard, you pluck them. I'll pluck a couple mallards here and there, and put a kind of like a beer can chicken. I like to do that with a duck. Yeah. Puts a little bit of moisture back in the meat there. It's ducks and geese are pretty meat. It's easy to dry them out, overcook them. They do cook fast. So, another way I like to do is just oven roast them. Just pluck the feathers, cut the legs, gut them, take the head off, and season the outside, and just put them in the oven and roast them. And there's certain ducks I like to eat better than other ducks. Obviously, everybody likes eating mallard. I think wood duck is just as good. You get those teal with green wing or blue wing. They're tasty little creatures too. But when you get into the divers that kind of feed a little bit more off the bottom and stuff like that, they're not going to fields of wheat and barley and corn, stuff like that. They're a little bit darker, and they're a little bit stronger in the wild taste. So
okay, that was going to be my next question. Was do they taste different? But and if they do taste different, does it? I guess that depends on their diet.
Yes, I big firm believer in different ducks taste different ways, and the teal, the mallard, they're similar tasting, like that, and the wood duck, I think, is a very good tasting duck. Bluebills, canvasbacks, you can, make jerky out of them or mix them with, mix them into a sausage or something like that. And
okay,
that's pretty good. I know we like to do a lot of Italian sausage and brats and stuff like that. So
you're making me hungry.
I know, right?
Oh, I just have, if you don't have anything else to ask or to add, I have one more question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
What is the big deal with banded birds?
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that is one thing that I know about the waterfowl industry is that banded birds are, like, guys collect them, like the bands, and they got the big... what do you call them? They're the calls. What the calls hang on? They're just all the way around it.
The lanyard, yeah.
Yes, the lanyards.
Yeah, they put them on their lanyard, yeah. Well, that's you shoot a banded duck or goose, that's like your prize for the day. I trust me, I love. I've only shot one band in my life. Actually, to tell you the truth, it was my first goose I ever shot.
Nice.
It was a banded goose. But that was 25 years ago, and I have not shot another one since. So I know some guys are maggots for them. I mean, it just seems like they always shoot a banded duck or goose every year.
Right.
Some people go after that. I mean, I think it's a neat thing. I mean, I like how they band them. It's it's kind of a neat reward, or it's a prize for shooting that goose.
Yeah, trophy in some sorts.
Exactly. Yes. I know they do a lot of different kinds of bands. They do neck bands and different leg bands, and I mean, yeah, you shoot a neck band. A neck band is a big thing.
Okay. I didn't know that.
That's kind of a waterfowler shooting a neck band is kind of like the holy grail for.
Gotcha.
Waterfowl.
Interesting. Okay. And because I know you can, don't they have like a number or a code or something that you can call and kind of get the story on that bird that the band was on? Yep.
They put a number on there. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They put numbers on there, and now they used to, back in the day, you had to call it in, and then they send you a piece of paper, like a little certificate, saying where this bird was banded, and how old this bird was when it's banned. Approximately, it's never specific enough. Like they don't say like March 1st of 2015 or something like that. But they give you approximate age and the sex of the bird, and so it's a neat. I think it's one of the funnier things to get when you're hunting. So
yeah, that would be pretty cool. Like if they had it for not just waterfowl, but if like say a deer had which I know they collar deer
right
usually, but if it happened more often, it was more of a pronounced thing in other species besides waterfowl. But because it would be cool to hear the story, behind what you just killed, because
Oh, exactly.
You never know. But do you remember the story of your banded bird? Where it was from, where it was banded, how old it was, and all that stuff?
Oh, it was. So I shot out Lac Barrow, and it was banded in Fergus Falls, Minnesota, which was a little bit north. I believe it was a 3-4-year-old bird, and it was a female, and so that was, call it luck. It's like shooting your biggest buck, the first buck you shoot. You can never
exactly
go back on it. That's what I've been in the blinds. 2 years ago when we shot those 45 out honkers out in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy ended up shooting his first band out there too. So.
Oh, no kidding! That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, they're far and few between, unless you kind of know the general area where they banded the birds. And I know some guys they are band hunters, so they know specifically where they band the geese in the general area on there. So they set up either around that area or in direct line of their migration. So when they do come through, your chances are better on shooting those banded birds.
Gotcha.
So,
that makes sense. Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, it's far and few between. I'm just waiting for the day I shoot my banded duck. I shoot about 20 ducks a year, and I still haven't got a banded duck. But.
Well, I hope it happens soon, buddy.
Yeah, me too. They also have some places they put transmitters on them, like wireless transmitters.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I know one of the guys that I hunt snow geese with. He shot I forget what kind of bird it was. Oh, a mallard hen, I think it was, and it had a wireless tracking device on it. It was like basically a backpack on the duck.
That's
and
crazy.
No, it is crazy, and it was also banded too. So he had a banded duck with a wireless transmitter on it, and you have to send that transmitter back to the U.S. Fishing game.
Okay.
And if you want something like, if you're going to mount the bird, they'll send you actually a replica of that device, and you can put it on that bird if you're going to mount it or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And that's a big prize.
Yeah,
I mean, you
I
should
would
wear
do that for sure.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Last year, some guys out west, they shot a banded snow goose that was banded actually in the eastern part of Russia.
Whoa!
So I know I didn't think that they banded birds up in Russia, but
I
he
guess they
had a
do.
snow goose. Yeah. Now that would have been a sweet band to have. That's you know, that I'm sure that doesn't. Those are very far and few between.
Right,
So
exactly. Dang, that would be wild.
wouldn't that be wild? I thought so too.
Yeah.
I saw that. I read that article twice. I'm like, what? Really?
To make sure what you were
Right.
reading was what you were reading.
Exactly.
That's funny.
I know the Pacific, some of the Pacific snow geese that migrate north. They do fly over into eastern Russia there, and that's where they kind of nest too, and along with northern Alaska, and obviously in Canada, northern Canada, and the Arctic, and up in the tundra and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's a lot of good info. I have no more notes. I have exhausted my notes. So if you have anything else you want to add, man, feel free. Which we're gonna get into the rapid fire questions. But if there's anything else that you think we missed, because like we established before, you're the more experienced one out of us two for sure.
Yeah, right.
So if there's anything that I missed or anything that you think needs mentioning, feel free.
Oh, I just for if you're gonna hunt these geese and hunt ducks, obviously, just the main thing is scout and know what you're doing, and make sure you time it right. And if you time it right and have your decoys and you're concealed, and it should all line up pretty decent for you. So
perfect, awesome. Well, we'll have to get together and schedule us a goose hunt or a duck hunt,
yeah.
either or both.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't mind coming down your way, do northern Texas,
Yeah.
Oklahoma or something like that, do a lesser hunt, because we don't get many lessers up here.
Okay.
I mean, more, and you go a little bit west in North Dakota, South Dakota, you get a little bit more lessers over there, but we don't see the flocks that you see down for lessers, and I think that'd be a fun little shoot. So
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll have to put something in the books.
I think we're gonna have to. Yeah. I mean, you can come up here. Yeah, if you want to come up here, next year for early North Dakota, and put you on some big honkers.
Yeah, here's what we do. We'll just go back and forth. 1 year we'll come down here. The next year we'll go
Perfect.
up there, and then we'll just go back and forth each year.
I love it. I love it.
Sounds good. Well, let's get into these rapid fire questions. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. Rapid fire question number 1. What is your favorite hunting memory?
My favorite hunting memory. Probably my favorite hunting memory has to be my bear. I shot a black bear when I was 15,
Whoa.
and that was it was at the cabin. We have a cabin up in northern Minnesota, kind of Cross Lake area, and that was my first big game animal I shot, was a black bear. So
Gotcha.
I have to say that. And the story behind that was quite crazy too. So,
we got time if you want to share it.
So yeah, I was 15, and we get to bait them up here.
Okay.
So I was 15, first time big game hunting, and was with my old man. He lives up in North Dakota, and set the bait out. Opening day came, and the bear I shot had a little white spot on his chest, and I couldn't hold back, and I shot it and did what I was supposed to, get out of the stand, go back to the road, wait for my uncle or the old man, and I did that, and my uncle got there first, and we started tracking it, went back to the stand, and I got good sight. I mean, I know I squared this thing up pretty nice, and I get to it, and it's kind of breathing still. Well, it was breathing still, and I poke it with the end of my gun, and sure as crap, the thing stands up. My leg looks me right in the eyes. All right, yep. I mean, literally 2 feet away, and I sitting there at the gun pointed at it. I asked my uncle, I go, what do I do? He goes, shoot it again.
That's
So,
crazy.
and I was always taught, for big game animals, you let it lay for a half hour, so
Yeah.
it takes its time and goes. And it was an hour. It was an hour from when I shot it to when I found it, and I'm surprised it was still breathing at the time I found it, because the sign that the path of the sign that I led to it was
Right.
Yeah.
That is wild.
That has to probably be that has to be probably my most memorable, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. That's a good one.
Yep.
All right. Well, rapid fire question number 2. What is which I know you kind of mentioned this earlier, but a bucket list hunt, and it can be big game, waterfowl. I know you mentioned earlier you wanted, your bucket list would be a speckle belly. But if there's any big game or anything a bucket list hunt that you've always wanted to do that you haven't got to do yet.
Oh, that's a good question. I guess for big game, I'm going to probably go with a moose or a caribou. Those majestic creatures. It'd be a once in a lifetime opportunity to go hunt one of those. Probably
Gotcha.
moose or a caribou. But yeah, for waterfowl, it would be probably a speckle belly or a brant goose. I know they get some sea ducks, king eiders, and regular eiders that are kind of on my list too. So I got a big bucket list.
Don't we all? Don't we
Right.
all? Okay. Well, rapid fire question number 3, and you kind of answered this earlier, so it might just be the same answer, but no big deal. What is your biggest piece of hunting advice related to waterfowl hunting? Like, if there's one thing that the listeners need to take away from this podcast, what do you think it should be?
Well, I'm gonna throw 2 in there. I'm gonna go scouting and concealment.
Perfect.
You got to scout. You got to. If you want to have a good hunt, you got to scout, and you got to get permission on the field that you want, or if you have the permission already, and you got to know where they're in the field. You can't just see them in the field. I mean, you got to, go and find the feathers and the droppings and stuff like that, and see what way they're going and stuff like that, and then to hide yourself. I mean, I don't stress more about hiding yourself. Concealment is, scouting and concealment are probably the 2 things that people should take away. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. That's the from the professional. That's what you need to do.
Right.
Well, awesome, man. Andy, I appreciate you coming on here with me and talking about this. It was a good conversation. I actually learned some stuff, so I'll be keeping that in my old noggin and using that. So hopefully they pulled some nuggets out of it too. So I really appreciate it.
No, not a problem. Thanks for having me on. This was fun. I hope someone gets to learn something or take something away from this and helps them on their next hunt out and about. So
yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to our annual goose hunts.
Yes, we're doing it. Nick. We're doing it.
We're doing it for sure. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for listening. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up here. We're getting close to the end of our time. I failed to do this at the beginning, but I do need to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Elite Archery. They have taken awesome care of us. This year I'm shooting the Ritual, and I could not be more happy with this bow. It is insanely quiet, insanely smooth. If you have not shot an Elite, go to your local archery shop and shoot one. Take the Elite Shootability Challenge, and you will not be disappointed, I promise. Andy, thanks again, man. I greatly appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you very much, Nick.
All right, guys. If you haven't yet, go check us out on social media, YouTube, all the platforms out there. Go check us out, and go to our website, www.fallobsession.com. We got all kinds of awesome content on there. Some awesome reviews. We have articles, good videos, recipes, all kinds of stuff. So go check those out too. We'll see you guys later on the next Fall Obsession podcast.